Good morning. I am Professor Jack Spengler. I'm on the faculty of Harvard University at the School of Public Health, and I'm also the director of the Center for Health in the Global Environment. And today we're here to present to you, I think, a very exciting opportunity, and that comes to you by way of the International Sustainable Campus Network. And I'm here with my friend, Bernd.
My name is Bernd Carstenbier. Very happy to be here. I'm a director at Sustainable Consulting Group, but mainly I'm here today as a program manager of the International Sustainable Campus Network. We use ISCN as a short from now on to save some time and make it easy.
So we'll tell them in detail what ISCN is and hopefully what it might mean to the universities in Kuwait. But let me step back and say, why are we talking about sustainable campuses? Why is this so important now at this time, 2013? Well, universities can help us reframe, reshape the relationship between academics and society. And in a way, they've been doing this all along throughout history. But I think even more so today, when we look at the loss of biodiversity, we look at the issues of climate change, disparities in health around the world. This is a really important time for the leadership and the research and the new students that come out of our universities to take a different role in society. And it is very much a part of leadership. And I think this was fundamental to the start of ISCN in the first place, leadership development. And then it's also relevant to students. We are seeing on our campuses, our membership is telling us that students are coming to those campuses because they see the importance of sustainability on their campuses. So we wanted to say that. A quick overview. Since the first Rio conference some 20 plus years ago, it gave us that language about sustainable development. But we're seeing now in many places around the world where organized students and faculty and civic-minded individuals are asking university presidents, board of trustees, faculty to step forward and make a commitment. And we're seeing this now in Rio Plus 20. There was this Earth Summit that was a declaration calling on universities around the world to do more in terms of world sustainability issues. We also see growth of networks, both national networks. There's a large network in the United States. You'll talk about Norway has a network. Korea has a network. We learned at our last meeting, China has a growing network of universities that have come together around this issue of sustainability on campus. So we'll talk about the ISCN, but bear in mind that there's many organizations at the national level and the regional level. And then we've seen also rating systems come into play. And it might not be so true in Kuwait, but we're seeing this in Europe. We're seeing it certainly in the United States, that organizations, sometimes they are private sector, sometimes like news magazines, or they are public interest groups, are starting to rate campuses on their commitment to sustainability. And I'll tell you, it makes a difference. I looked at my own campus that I graduated from a couple years ago. They got a D rating on what they were doing. They weren't doing much. And as alumni, we said, you must do more. And they moved up in those rating systems to B, B plus, A. So we're really see it makes a difference. Now, so why are we even talking about this? I think there's an added value of thinking of sustainability in the campus model, because campuses, after all, model society. We have buildings, we have food services, we have huge purchasing departments. We have landscape in many of our places, wastewater treatment, custodials, energy. So there's transportation. So all the things that you find in a city, you find elsewhere in society, are actually being played out on campuses. And they are constrained with financial constraints, like everything else in the real world. They have multiple stakeholders they have to please. So if you can think of the campus where you want to innovate, where you want to put into practice different strategies, technologies, programs that are beneficial for sustainability purposes, campuses are a good place to do this, to try out what works on campus. The other reason we see the challenge on campuses is that there are three constituents on most campuses. The administration that sets the goals of the academics and admissions, but they also run the system. They're the ones running the buildings and the grounds and doing the dining services, keeping the system going. You have the faculty that are motivated by research and teaching, and you have students that are there to be educated, to be trained, to be inspired, to be equipped with the tools that will make them successful. So this is why it's really important that sustainability programs can bring these three elements together. And we've seen this happen. Maybe you'll share some examples. So tell us about ISCN.
Thanks, Jack. So the ISCN is an organization that provides a global experience exchange for sustainability in higher education. The society was formed in 2007 and is looking at ideas and best practice for integrating sustainability not only into campus operations, but also research and teaching, including the questions, how are your buildings, how are your facilities used as examples in teaching and in research. With a number of programs, the key one is the ISCN Gulf Sustainable Campus Charter, was signed by about 45 presidents from 6 continents. To avoid confusion, Gulf in this context means Global University Leaders Forum, which is a group of leading university presidents convened by the World Economic Forum.
And I think this is a good point, that the organization really sprang out of the World Economic Forum. It was the world business leaders and government and political leaders that came together and said, we need this as a central focus on some campuses that are really in the leadership echelons.
Exactly, Jack. And so we have annual conferences, which by now have been in 400 individuals from 200 schools and some private sector organizations. There's a Campus Sustainability Excellence Award, up to now awarded to 18 universities in 11 countries. And it can be an inspiration for others. That's the idea behind the award. We also have 3 working groups, one focused on individual buildings, the other on the campus as a whole, and the third on the integration of campus research, teaching, and community outreach. With that in mind, the ISCN might provide resources that could be helpful as you develop your networks. The charter can be used as a framework for setting goals and for reporting on performance. The charter reporting guidelines are also a very good checklist for you to see which topics you might want to include in your programs. The conference is an excellent idea to exchange with your peers around the world, and we would very much welcome people from the Gulf region to participate in next year's meeting. Jack is going to talk about that. The Excellence Awards, again, is a possibility for you to showcase your leading examples if you apply for an award, but also to look at award winners and see what you might want to emulate on your campus. And largely, the working groups give you the opportunity to collaborate with thought leaders in different countries on campus sustainability in all its aspects. All these resources are available for free on the ISCN website. The conference of the ISCN, we started in 2007, the first 2 conferences in Switzerland, which is our birthplace. We then went to Shanghai, to Gothenburg, Sweden, to the US East Coast in Oregon, Singapore last year. And then next year,
they're coming to our place.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, so we're really proud of this because it's important to gather the expertise, the knowledge, the experience of these universities that are part of this network. And we're going to gather them at Harvard and MIT. So jointly, we're going to offer the World Congress in June. So this will be posted on the website, and we hope to see many of you join us. So it's important. Bert, you mentioned the unifying themes. This is really important. One is it's innovation. We think and we've seen it, sustainability just innovates at all levels. The students, the faculty, the administration, they bring ideas together to campus, driven by the desire to use the university as a living laboratory. And so we've done this at Harvard. We're doing this right now, studying students in our own dormitories, because we're revising and rebuilding and renovating those dormitories, and we want to make them better. Better lighting, better ventilation, better acoustics, better materials. So there's a real purpose for doing the research on our own campus, because you can implement that faster. That's one good reason. We also see our connection to our communities. So by working on these relationships within our own internal community, the campuses, as well as the towns and cities that we exist in, start to implement those programs, which have relevance to the greater world. I'll give you an example. Again, back to Harvard. We've been asked by the city of Boston and our city of Cambridge to help them and help ourselves thinking about future climate change when the sea level will rise, when the storm surges get higher, when the rain intensity changes. Well, in Kuwait, it might be hot and dry, but there are these consequences that need to be thought through in our infrastructure. And so this then serves as models for others. And then I think it's important to sort of set a positive outlook. I mean, we have been in this for some time, this field of environment and sustainability. And so much of it is measuring our energy impacts, measuring our water use, measuring our materials. It's our footprint on the earth. And to turn this around and say it's the good we can do, it's the positive things we can do, it's to, and we find this through our students and through our research, is it just completely changes the engagement rules, and it really has some benefit. So that's another reason to think this is a wonderful model. Sustainable campus is a model for activating student involvement and faculty involvement.
Yeah. We see the exact same thing in operations, that they start to report both on the negative impacts and reducing those, but also really want to be seen as improving the world and having a positive impact, sometimes called handprinting, to balance the footprinting language we've been using and to see where the journey might be going. So with that in mind, I want to switch gears and really talk about how we might work together, if that's of interest for the Kuwaiti delegates and for the Gulf region more largely, to pull a global experience exchange together. So one possible option to think about these layers is to think about the universities in your country, as each university having their program, having clear goals, clear reporting, student involvement, innovation, a green campus, social outreach, and to report on that up to international standards with high quality. This then can be pulled together, and I think what you're thinking about right now, a national Kuwaiti network of exchange.
That would be really nice to see that happen.
Absolutely. And again, this might happen in Kuwait, this might happen in Qatar, it might happen in different countries in your region. So I heard, and I would very much support also to think about a Gulf region sustainable campus network, if that is something that makes sense to all of you. What we can offer from the international perspective, we can offer that via the ISCN, you can be linked to the global discussion. The global group can learn from what you do in your region. You've got very exciting things to offer, and you might learn from people in other regions what they've done, what they might want to do. In addition to these organizational layers, ISCN, region, national, university, there's resources you can use. For example, the Sustainable Futures Academy provides leadership training, which might be very much helpful in what you're doing. The GRI reporting standards is something you might look at as you disclose and report your sustainability footprint and handprint. And the LEED building standards is something you're probably already looking at to improve your building.
They have the in the Emirates, and so they, I think many of them are familiar with high, let's say, high performance standards for buildings. There's another thing I thought about is at our annual meetings, you often invite universities that are starting this path to come early and have deeper interactions with other universities that are quite willing to share their progress.
Thanks for saying that, Jack. So the conferences start to have a day before the conference. You call it a pre-conference workshop, that people who are new to the ISCN family can really, learn about the framework and hit the ground running, so to speak. So in the full conference are know what's been going on, know the ISCN terminology. So any of you who might come to the conference, being at this pre-conference workshop might be helpful to you. And Jack is probably going to teach there. I'm volunteering him, so it's going to be a good program. Just some suggestions from our perspective of what you're probably going to discuss and what you might think about. So an option for Kuwait and for the region might be to set up a national regional network first, to pool and transfer knowledge between your universities that already might be existing.
Because I'm sure there are good examples in many of these places, but it just hasn't been pulled together and recognized as part of a sustainability program.
Right. Option 2 might be that a few of your universities who have operations and faculty involvement on the ground, but maybe haven't pulled it together into a sustainability program, do this first.
Yes.
You get a good pool of knowledge in one university, and you then share with your colleagues. Option 3, which might be most exciting, is that you build both levels at the same time, that you build a national level, and from some leading universities, you build bottom-up the experience, and you share something that evolves at some universities at the same time. Just again, a suggestion how the international level at the ISCN and the regional level in the Gulf or in Kuwait might work together. So in general, we see the ISCN as exchanging diverse viewpoints because people from all over the world come together with very diverse challenges, opportunities, and experiences, which is exciting to learn from and to teach each other. Versus regionally, you've got much more similar geographic, ecological,
climate issues that are regional and
very much cultural issues, what's important in a society, and so you might be able to work more on detail and really fine-tune certain things. What we like to see happen is a circle that combines the international and the regional. And one way to think about this might be that the ISCN provides global resources that our friend Nader can give you some examples of, that you can adapt them for the regional needs. For example, looking at the ISCN Charter and the reporting checklist and see which of these topics are most relevant to you in the region and how might you interpret them that it really makes sense for your context. On the other way, from the regional to the international back, we very much like to hear and are excited to hear about what happens in the regions and what unique knowledge and challenges come up from a regional perspective. And so we encourage key members from each regional network to be also ISCN members.
And take responsibility, take leadership roles within the society.
Exactly. And to bring back your knowledge into our global conferences, into the working groups, and make sure there's a global exchange of experience all around. One example that we found has worked and might be something you might want to look at has been set up, and Jack mentioned that, in Northern Europe. A number of Northern European countries came together and formed what's called the Nordic Sustainable Campus Network, the NSCN, and it's no coincidence that SCN is the same as in the ISCN because this is a Nordic little sister of the ISCN. The way this works, and we very much like this, the NSCN is an independent organization of the ISCN, but leading members of the NSCN are members of ISCN and bring in the knowledge on the global platform.
And this serves their purpose well, because not everyone can travel to do the international travel, and time of the year might not be, but they can really exchange their local experiences within countries or within a region. And that they have big conferences, very successful conferences at the regional level.
So this link, a regional exchange and some leading universities then are also part of the international group has seemed to work well. In the Nordic Campus Network, the ISCN Sustainable Campus Charter was used as a starting point to think about which topics to include, to use the reporting guidelines as a checklist, so it brought them up much quicker to speed as if they would have started from scratch. With that in mind?
So, with that in mind, we want you to explore our website, the International Sustainable Campus Network, and you are fortunate because you have Chris Silva from Qatar, who is an active member and you have Leith Sharp from Harvard, is an active member in the International Sustainable Campus Network. So they're there to really tell you on a personal level what this is. But we'd be honored to have some of you join us at Harvard. When it's getting hot in Kuwait, we'll have a cool spring for you in June of 2014. We very much would like to see many of you join us.
And we would be very open as much as you want to continue talking with you about your regional network and what we might be able to give you as insights and very much learn from you as you go along. And if some leading members of your network universities want to join the ISCN formally, you're very, very much welcome. We would love to have you.
So best wishes for your conference. I look forward to hearing from Nader and Leith when they return. I'm sure they were excited about the prospects of traveling once again to the region and meeting with you. Each step is a step forward. So thank you.
Thanks so much.